Welcome to Make a Path Presents. I'm Ronnie Hayes, and today let's talk about The Walking Dead, Season 7, Episode 9. Before we dive into the discussion, I do want to let you guys know that I am not changing the video upload schedule or nothing like that. And this video is late, and that's the only reason why things are, I don't know. Listen, I feel like dog shit on a hot sidewalk, so this video is late. Sorry. And if you're new to this channel, normally I put a lot more effort into the videos, but my head is throbbing, and this is like the 67th time I tried to do this damn video. So let's just talk about the damn show, and you guys can either like the video or hate the video and comment and say, hey Ronnie, we appreciate it, or comment and say, hey, go fuck yourself. I don't know. First thing first, with Father Gabriel, I was hoping they would... I was hoping they wouldn't turn his character into a bitch. I really like his development, plus I really like the actor. In first viewing, I thought there was just enough evidence to kind of speculate that someone forced him to take everything. The door was cracked a little bit to the pantry, and I think he went to investigate. He was walking around all calm, you know what I mean? And then the camera cut to him being all frantic, loading everything up, and it just didn't make any sense. On top of that, when he enters the pantry, we hear a loud crash, and then they cut to him loading everything up. We don't know how much time has passed. We don't know what that loud crash was. So I think there's enough there to speculate that somebody hit him when he came through the door, and then forced him, threatened him, told him that they'd kill everyone who was sleeping. So Father Gabriel did what he had to do. He did what the person told him to do. Then when I watched it a second time, I turned up the brightness as Father Gabriel was pulling out, and you can see somebody sitting up from the passenger seat. So I think that is 100% proof that someone forced him, someone from this new community that we see at the end of the episode, someone forced him to take all their stuff, and he was clever enough to write boat in the notebook, which was really damn cool. Now moving on to the hilltop, I've said this 1,000 times, they casted the perfect actor for Gregory, and I'm really excited for the possibility of getting Gregory and Negan on screen at the same time. I want to see Gregory react to a Negan who's very pissed at him. I want to see how he gets out of that with his silver tongue, you know? The actor playing Gregory does such a tremendous job. It's actually enjoyable watching this coward be a coward. We also get to see the rise of Maggie Green with the community at the hilltop, coming to Enid, coming to Maggie and the group, saying that they want to fight. They already know Gregory's not about it, and we can speculate all we want on how Gregory got into that position, but I kind of get the vibe that when the hilltop was coming together, nobody wanted to step up and be the leader because everyone was taking care of what needed to get taken care of, growing crops or setting things up, and Gregory was the only person who was interested, you know, in being a leader at that point in time. So he kind of wasn't taken seriously. Okay, that's the leader, that's the mouthpiece of the group, and then once he became the leader, he took it to a whole nother level as being the leader. You see what I'm saying? I kind of see Gregory getting into the position like that, so it makes complete sense for his people not to respect him enough to even discuss this with him. They go right to Enid. Enid, you know what I mean? Who, this kid just got here, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, and I think that shows more of a disrespect towards Gregory than it does anything else. Now, they cut to the kingdom, and this was really cool because the Alexandrian survivors get to the kingdom for the first time. We have this mini introduction that's actually kind of similar in ways with the comic book, just as Morgan and Carol's introduction with the kingdom was. Before we seen this introduction between these two groups, I was kind of thinking, you know what, they should tame it back with the kingdom stuff, the king stuff, the way they speak, you know, they should tone that down a bit. But then I got to thinking, royalty isn't real. It's not a real thing. Hold on, I will explain that in a second. It's not real like a tree is real, air is real, you know, wood is real, rocks are real. Like, these are real things. If you take the label of tree away from a tree, it's still a tree. Like, it still is what it is. It's still a thing. It's real. But as far as royal families, they're only royal because the people buy into it. And back in the day, it was like military force. It was your army. It was how much power you had. That made your label a real thing, because if people didn't respect the title of king, you could just kill their people. You could burn down their towns. You could threaten the people. Whoop-de-whoop. Same thing with King Ezekiel. He could sit up here and we could mock him all day long for being a king, and and acting like this is some kind of fake world they're living in. But if he had enough force, if he had enough military might and army or whatever, he could make that a reality. And I think that's such an interesting thing. That alone is so damn interesting that before I was thinking about it being a little silly at times. Now it's slowly becoming one of the most interesting things to debate on. Because think about the reality there. Royal bloodlines, royal families, like this whole idea, it's all bullshit. Again, like a tree. Like, it's not real. There is no royal bloodline. You can't take blood and be like, look at that. That is royal bloodline. It's only royal because we make it royal. You know what I'm saying? Like, we accept that. Either by force or just by tradition. Like, we accept that. So it's the same thing with King Ezekiel, and I love that. Like, I'm going to shut up about that topic, and maybe I'm the only one who thinks this topic is interesting, but I love that topic. I just love that shit so damn much. Anyway, we have Morgan. That reunion was fan-fucking-tastic. A lot of times, and I've talked about this on the channel, where we have characters that have odd dialogue, like Daryl explaining where Beth went. She was just gone. That doesn't tell anybody shit. Like, and I told you guys the rule in Hollywood, or at least when you're starting out, you're never allowed to tell the audience something they already know. But that's not real dialogue. That's not how people really talk. So when Morgan was telling us stuff we already know, Carol was here, I had to shoot the guy, she was shot, but it was only a graze, blah, 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 blah. That was so damn refreshing, and I enjoyed it because it wasn't like a writer saying, okay, what's the most clever way I can get around this? Have the character say something that isn't just what they saw. I don't give a shit about that. I want to see Daryl's reaction. I want to see, Rick's reaction. I want to see this conversation in a realistic way. I don't care if it follows the guidelines on, beginner screenwriting 101 or some bullshit like that. So that was refreshing. I wanted to see a little bit more surprise and happiness that Rick saw that Morgan was alive. It felt like that was deflated a bit, It felt like there should have been a little bit more with that scene. But overall, it was refreshing having realistic dialogue in that moment. Let's talk about Ben. Ben is someone who King Ezekiel is training to be a part of his inner circle. And I think this episode highlighted what King Ezekiel sees in Ben. Ben is smart. Ben definitely gave King Ezekiel amazing advice that he should have followed. He came to him and he was like, hey, listen, those guys are hungry. Did you see their eyes? They're going to do this with or without you. You know what I mean? Ben's advice was definitely on point. And then you have Richard, and I think Richard is a great fit for Daryl. Richard and Daryl seem like they would be an interesting team to watch for an episode or two. They could even go and check out certain outposts because they're going to need more information. That was Rick's problem to begin with. They didn't have enough intel, and they're going to need to know a little bit more about the outposts, a little bit more about the operation. So I could see Daryl and Richard going on little trips like that just to get some proper intel. Now, we do have King Ezekiel saying no, and this is at one of those points where I kind of feel like shitty about it. One aspect, I understand why he's hesitant, but in the same strength, I feel shitty because I feel like this is just stretching it out. We know he's going to say yes. We know he's going to say yes. He has every reason to say yes. He already started seeing shit come apart off a half-assed comment the last time they sent the pigs to the Saviors. They did a trade-off, so he knows shit's gonna go bad. I kind of feel like this is a predictable setup, and I'm hoping they do something different instead of just killing Ben off, because right now that's way too predictable of a setup. Ben gets killed, Ezekiel, because we see the bond growing, realizes that he made the wrong choice, and he needs to join forces with the other survivors and go to war. Before they leave the kingdom, they end up leaving Daryl there. And this is one of the moments where I could go either way, I think. I talked to you guys before about Daryl going to the kingdom, and then Rick and them going to see Daryl and to see the kingdom for the first time. And I think that is still the choice I would have preferred, but I understand completely that they brought Daryl to the hilltop so that way they can have that ending they had in episode 8. And I feel like if the season wasn't split in half, we might have had Daryl taken straight to the kingdom instead of sidetracking to the hilltop. You know what I mean? It just felt like a lot of unnecessary jumping around when it was too risky and too dangerous to do all that traveling. So they leave the kingdom and they get to the booby trap area where they have to move the cars and stuff. And this is where they find all the dynamite. And this is also where we can kind of pinpoint some cons or maybe nitpick at a couple things. Now, if they staged those cars, they should have, or at least most likely, had a little bit of gas to get them moved around. You know what I mean? So that's not a problem. Hot wiring the cars, it's most likely something that they learned in the post-apocalypse. But my problem is, I wish they would have shown someone teaching someone and have them talk about it. So at least we know this is something that they teach each other to make them more capable when they're going out on runs. I think this is something we should see brought to the forefront more and more instead of some of the more pointless stuff that they showcase at times. And if you have a problem with the wire rope taking out the walkers, I do think that part was a little iffy. I can't see that happening in real life, but it's also something I don't care about. It's a cool zombie kill, and it's not something that's completely ridiculous. I didn't find it completely ridiculous, because keep in mind, Daryl picked up a chain a few seasons ago, whipped it around, and took off like two walkers, two, not one, maybe two or three, took off their heads, or their skulls. You know what I'm saying? So if I didn't bat an eye at that, I'm not going to care about this. So if you have a problem with that walker kill, that's on you. I thought it was cool, and it's definitely showing that they want to give us some cool walker kills. At the end of the day, this is still entertainment, so they want to entertain us. And if they got to kind of skip the shark a little bit, it's not jumping the shark, but if they want to play around a little bit with it, I'm not mad at them for it. I liked it. But the explosives, though, it does set it up where they get explosives, so that way that'll be in the future. And it also sets up the herd, because Rick said no, block the on-ramp or off-ramp, because we might still be able to use that herd. And I think comic book fans will have an idea. And that's if they do something similar to what they did in the comic. I don't want to spoil it here, but they make it back to Alexandria and the Saviors show up. And this is something that I thought it felt a little rushed. It felt like they could have tightened up other aspects and maybe let this breathe, let this simmer just a little bit. They're hunting Daryl. Daryl's a fan favorite. They want to kill him if they find him. Like, this is bad news. But it got the Savior stuff out of the way. Okay, the Saviors came, they looked, Daryl's not there. The Saviors have to be smart enough to leave somebody to keep watch, to leave people keeping watch. You're not just going to show up. Daryl could be hiding out back in a bush somewhere. All they did was check the houses in Alexandria. I mean, how incompetent is that? That is so incompetent, it's unbelievable they made it even this far. You know what I'm saying? Maybe that is showing some of their weakness. You know what I mean? Maybe that is showing some of their overconfidence. Because, like I said, Daryl could just be hiding on the other side of that wall, and they never would have found him. It's not like they searched the perimeter. It's not like they left somebody there. They can leave one or two guys. I don't know why they don't do that. Leave one or two saviors to live in Alexandria? How is that not a thing? I don't know. You tell me. With that being said, it also highlights the pantry, which leads the story into them going to look for Father Gabriel. Now, we do get a moment between Eric and Aaron. I'm really liking Aaron. I think Ross, the actor playing Aaron, is very charismatic. And I think the actor playing Eric is doing a good job, but I just don't feel like Eric is a character that needs a lot more build-up. Sometimes you just need those characters to prop up other ones. You know what I mean? It's just the way stories work. Now, they go to the boat looking for Father Gabriel, and I do believe boat was written there by Father Gabriel and not the people that took him. Again, we heard him whispering, just checking, when he was looking in the book, and I think the person who took Father Gabriel mentioned something about following people from the boat, and Father Gabriel wrote this down because, keep in mind, if the people from the boat area wanted to speak with the people at Alexandria, they could just send a messenger. That's easy. It's too out of their control to leave a message, especially a hidden message in a notebook that if Rick didn't even look through it, they never would have found. But it's too out of control and risky to leave that message and have that other community that's such a big unknown, have them come to your community. You can stay hidden if you send a messenger to their community and have an open dialogue. You know what I mean? So I do think that was all Father Gabriel's doing right there. I could be wrong, but I do think it is. Now, when they got surrounded, Rick and them, I like the smile. I like that. And it actually matches what with something Michonne was saying where they just got away from the walkers. And I like how they film this where the walkers are crowded around them so much. I think that ramps up the tension a lot more. When it's Rick and Michonne, we know they're not dying in that moment, but I do think if they start applying that type of filmmaking with the walkers in close proximity to the characters, it'll definitely make scenes with non-major players a lot more interesting and edge of your seat, you know? Start doing that type of shit with all characters. But anyway, when they get away from the walkers, Michonne tells them, you can smile now, you can relax a little bit. And I feel like that's what Rick did. Rick is putting two and two together quickly when he starts seeing them get surrounded, them outnumbered. He probably thinks of a couple things like, okay, they snuck in, stole food, were able to kidnap Father Gabriel, no signs of blood, no struggle, no signs anyone got seriously injured. No one else was injured. They let everyone sleep peacefully at Alexandria. They could have killed us immediately. So far, we're being left alive. They have the numbers. They have guns. They're hiding. They have likely dealt with the Saviors before, and this is all running through Rick's mind immediately, and I think that, in my opinion, is what brings out that smile, because at this point, he's hearing no and no and no, and he doesn't know where else to look. He goes looking for Father Gabriel, and boom, another door of possibilities just opens right up, and then he smiles about it. Now, what I don't like is the silent surrender or the surrounding with the extras. There was a lot of just flat faces, you know what I mean? The whole moment with the extras, it was a little bit flat. I probably would have just preferred the camera stay on our survivors' faces and we do a circle as we're panning out to the backs of the extras. You know, I think that would have been a little more effective. All right, so this episode for me was just good. I think individually the parts are okay. There's some definitely weak moments, especially with this angry Daryl. I love an angry Daryl. Loving the angry Daryl. Absolutely. But they kind of making him into a dumbass Daryl. I don't like the little shit they do like that. For example, Daryl in Season 2, you're not pulling a fast one around him. He put two and two together with quickness. Shane tried to set everything up in a really elaborate frame job, and Daryl knew immediately. He's like, nah, boom, boom, boom. Now look at Daryl now. Okay, he's pissed, but he knows they need help. They need more help. You know, there's nowhere else they can look. And then Jesus introduces him to a community of people they trust. Daryl's first response, because the guy is being cautious, right? Let's just leave. Let's just go. This is bullshit. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, it's a little shit like that where I'm like, damn, who allows that? That has zero place whatsoever in the story, that type of writing. And I think you find that sprinkled in here and there in between the episodes and similar things like that. There's no excuse for that. And maybe there is, and I'm being a little hard on it, but I don't feel like there's an excuse for that type of dialogue to be written in with that type of character. Anyway, it was okay. It was definitely okay. It wasn't what I thought we were going to get at all. I'm still very much excited for what's coming up in episode 10. So leave your thoughts and opinions in that comment box. I'm done talking. It's your turn.